The lies a dentist has been telling his much younger girlfriend about his non-existent wife and children come back to bite him when she demands to confront her directly, forcing him to press his nurse into playing the role in the 1969 screwball comedy Cactus Flower. And that's the movie we're dusting off this week on Movie Bones.
Dickinson, you could do me a great service. Well, I need a wife temporarily, 15 or 20 minutes. I'm telling all this very badly. Miss Dickinson, I want someone to play the part of my wife.
Someone like me?
All you'd have to do is tell a certain person that you want a divorce. Her name is Toni Simmons.
Oh, I'm supposed to give you a message. She's alive.
Well, that's only part of it. See, my problem is she thinks I'm already married.
Where could you have gotten such an idea?
Well, at the time, I had my reasons. But I'll straighten that out later. At the moment, I have to dig up a wife.
Well, right now, stop digging and tell the girl the truth. Good night.
Well, I can't tell her anything now, Miss Dickinson. She's liable to. I'm the first decent man she's ever met.
Are you quoting her or you?
And if you would just go and meet
now,
her...
Doctor, I am sorry. I hate lies.
No more than I do, Miss Dickinson. No more than I. But I don't know how to get out of this one. My happiness lies in your two hands.
You know, I promise you that you look into this movie and you do an IMDb search, you do any kind of search you want on Cactus Flower, and you won't find what I'm about to say in any promotional material around this movie. But Cactus Flower is actually about a magical mink coat that can transform a lively and entertaining romantic farce about a lying cheat of a guy who's into loose relationships, who you're led to believe is going to be pincushioned by his own deceit into becoming a better man, only to make a hard turn into an ad campaign for swinging. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. And then that whole part where he says, "Oh, I'll tell her." No, it never actually happens. He never actually tells her the truth.
No.
The whole entire film.
He doesn't budge. He doesn't budge even a centimeter.
No. And he has the perfect opportunity.
Yes.
And, and of course, we're seeing it from the perspective of like having that information that he doesn't have.
Yeah.
But still, he doesn't, even when it's laid out there for him, he refuses. He absolutely refuses.
What is the point of lying at the point? I don't understand what even the point in the story would be to try to lie. It just undermines any kind of idea you might have. Okay, so folks, let's take a step back here. As Walter Matthau just introduced kind of laid out the bare bones premise of the story is like, he's a dentist and he's into this kind of very loose relationship with this much younger woman played by this is the first credited role for Goldie Hawn, apparently. I looked it up.
Yes.
Goldie Hawn at this point is like very fresh in her career, very young, and there's this huge age gap, and he's been kind of lying to her for a long time, I guess, to kind of make sure that she doesn't get too committed to the relationship, but then she tries to kill herself, which means he kind of feels a little bit of guilt about it, I suppose, which means he's actually going to propose to her now, but to do that, he has to kind of actually provide a material wife who was previously just a phantom because she wants to meet the wife who he says is divorcing him. And you think, that this is going to be a pincushion type movie, right? Where he's like the hero, quote unquote, has this deep flaw that he doesn't understand about himself. And he's going to figure out through the course of the film, and, through all the picks and pokes that the film is going to use his own foibles against him to make that happen. And if that's what you're going into it with, and which we're led to believe, that it does a good job of actually writing some pretty good pincushion material, I'd say.
I feel like this is going to be one of those times where we might just sit here and just bash a movie.
It's so weird to say that because at what point in the movie it hit you of kind of the unraveling? But for me, it was very sudden, and I can pinpoint it to 1 hour, 11 minutes, 23 seconds into the film. It's when she gets the fur coat, this mink coat. Because up until that point, the characters were still acting consistently. And all of a sudden, the mink coat changes everything.
And I know what they were trying to get at there. I don't think it's very well explored in this movie But the beats that you do have on it, the hits you do have on it, are the mink coat. It's something that people closer to their age group, that's what the movie's trying to tell you anyways.
Yeah.
It's something that people closer to their age group would appreciate, would understand. And someone like Goldie Hawn's character, who's 21, she's about to enter into the 70s. Her room is very much like where she lives. It's very much the 70s.
It's a very different mindset.
Yeah, very different mindset. So she doesn't care about it as much. It does not do a good job of explaining that, because when Ingrid Bergman gets the mink, because she sends it to her, it's like when she puts it on, yes, you're right. She just her character completely flips. Because they do a bad job of explaining the generational.
I can't put it any other better way, except for me personally, it's like, it's two different characters. It's like she adopts, because like you heard from the clip, she seems to be a person who has some good standards under her belt, right? The worst thing you could say about her is that she lets a little bit too much of her empathy allow it for her boss to work itself into going along with his stupid scheme. That's the worst you could say about her, but it's still coming from a place of empathy. She has lines and standards. She hates to lie, right? She hates lying. And yet she ends up finding herself embedded in this lie, uncomfortably so, and she's going along with it. And she's uncomfortable, but Walter Matthau is also uncomfortable too. And there are things that happen during that time period where it's like, it's working out okay because everyone's being their character. Stephanie is doing her part, but she's doing it in a way that actually starts to undermine the goal because of how it's playing off. It's like, it looks like the person that she set up with that Jack Weston guy, the guy that we saw in Wait Until Dark. He's a real scumbag, sleazo kind of guy, but he's a friend of Walter Matthau's, go figure. And so Goldie Hawn sees them together, and that backfires because instead of looking like they're supposed to be, they're all happy. It's like, no, this guy's bad for her. You should be trying to help her get split up with this guy. And so it keeps digging that hole a little bit deeper. I was like, yes, turn the screws on Walter Matthau, turn all the screws. He deserves this. And then it's like and all of a sudden it does this kind of thing where it's like, no, her standards were wrong. It's like she just loses all of her standards. This comes out late in the film, but this is important.
I'm sorry, Toni. I know this is a shock for anyone, and even greater for someone with your youth and idealism.
That dirty son of a bitch.
That's one way of looking at it. Toni, wait. Toni, Julian loves you.
Then why did he lie like that?
But he isn't a bad man. He's just a little weak.
A weak man, but a strong liar. Damn it, I've been swindled.
Toni, Julian is marrying you. A lot of girls would leap at such a swindle. Well, I know you're expecting Julian, and I don't want to run into
Now, how
him.
come you suddenly decided to unmess this mess?
Well, let us say Miss Dickinson is a very conscientious nurse and likes to tidy up before she goes. Sooner or later, Julian is going to break down and tell you the truth on his own. Please help him. Accept him.
A man who lies cannot love.
That sounds like something out of a fortune cookie.
Allow me to correct her there. That sounds like something she would have said at the beginning of the movie. And she's not the main character who needed changing. But she did change. And that's a problem.
Maybe this movie would have done itself a service if in between the end scene of the movie and the scene right before the movie, there was a whole part where Walter Matthau's character kind of has some kind of self-realization about himself. And it's not just hey, I messed up. It's more of actually apologizing to people. And we start seeing that character development to where he's going to do better.
Yeah.
And everything. And then you could understand things like, okay, this is why she has feelings for him, talking about Stephanie's character.
Yeah.
And you could also see you're not leaving Toni's character off on a bad note. He's created this whole entire mess. And what's the end result? The end result is he wins.
He wins. He gets what he wants.
And that's not good storytelling.
No, it presents the exact opposite. It's like, I know the 70s were more loose. Well, I don't know how far back the swinging lifestyle goes. That kind of very kind of loose, idea of commitment. So loose that you can just swap out whoever you're in front of at the moment. I know that it was something of a characteristic of the 70s where it really kind of rose to prominence, but it's like, you don't want a movie that celebrates that. And if you did, let's say you even had the intention of making a movie where that was presented as a good thing, you wouldn't start out your movie by presenting Stephanie's character as she's not irrationally strict. That's the thing. She's not a prude. She's not being overly strict and harsh, where she needs to moderate and just kind of loose up a little bit. They don't present her like that. They present her as reasonable. The film actually gets you in her corner. You feel that Walter Matthau is imposing on her this thing, and he is. I even said this to Anna while we were watching it. It felt like there were two writers for the film, and whoever picked up after that page, whatever was like 1 hour, 11 minutes in, that whoever finished the movie didn't even read the first part. They had their own idea about what moral the story was trying to tell, and they just took it off in that direction. For the first part of the movie, I liked the relationship between Toni and Stephanie when they're kind of talking about, when she shows up at the record store, when Stephanie goes to the record store and starts talking to Toni. I felt there was kind of a relationship there that could be built on. I almost thought they were going to work together to try and teach Walter Matthau a lesson. That was one of the thoughts that came into my head.
I'd bring in a whole different character, actually, believe it or not. I would take Ingrid Bergman's character, Stephanie. I would make her a key figure in the movie, but I would not make her the other woman in this instance, or the actual married woman. She would have been better served as being like his moral compass the whole entire movie. The person that, is telling him like, hey, you probably shouldn't be doing this, and doesn't really feed into his lies, but is trying to get him to actually do the right thing. If you're going to make this a romantic comedy, you could have had one character. She could have actually been with Harvey at the end of the movie, and give him a little bit of a character upgrade. The woman that he was actually with and everything. Yeah. That would have been like the perfect role for her in this movie. And you could have essentially had like 6 couples at the end of the movie, which would have been perfectly fine. You've had Walter and Ingrid Bergman, you would have had Goldie and Rick, their characters together, and you would have had Jack Weston and, this other woman as their whole entire thing. Yeah. I think it would have made it a better narrative because Ingrid Bergman's character is like leading him down this path. Right. And that's where he realizes, the person that is really right for me has been in front of me the whole entire time. And I'm realizing it. And I'm also realizing that because she's in it, I want to do a fundamental change about my life. I want to be a better person. Yeah. I want to right all my wrongs. Instead of making her a part of it and making her that moral compass at the beginning and then
destroying the compass.
Yeah, destroying the compass off the back of a mink scarf.
You could just finish the first movie you started as being kind of a straight-up romantic comedy, the way that we thought it was, the way that it looked like it was shaping up to be. And the second one, you could make it into one of those movies where everybody is the pincushion, and it's more about a satire about that kind of life. The vagaries of 70s romance, and just poke all the holes in it, where everybody's got the flaws, but you can't put them together in the same film. I did think it was rather interesting the way the film opened, just cutting to her kind of just casually commit suicide.
Oh, it didn't work.
It didn't work. Yeah. You did strike a good tone with that. It's an odd way to open a film.
I will give you some kind of fun things about this movie. One, if you're a big fan of the song I'm a Believer, you will hear it twice in this movie. Yeah. And think to yourself, I guess that club probably only has that song.
It does. Yeah.
It's 2 different nights. I'm sitting there watching it. My wife's watching it sort of alongside with me last night too. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm not really paying attention to the background music. And I saw her face. I was like, oh, wait, that's that song. Yeah. I knew that song existed because I think it was the Monkees.
It's the Monkees. And this is a subpar version the movie uses. This is a very subpar version.
Yeah, well, it doesn't even no lyrics. It's just the music. It's like the next night or a couple nights later and they're playing that song again. And again, I'm just sitting there like, okay, it's a good song in its own way, but I'm like, did the budget not allow for more music?
Well, it does, because there's also this other scene where I have to say this. I love Ingrid Bergman too. She's a terrific actress and she does what she can with this. But that scene, I have to point out, just listen to this.
Now, what is that?
Get tight.
And what is this?
Boogaloo. What's that?
The new step.
What's it called?
The dentist.
I wept in a moment there You have one of the great actresses of the generation that she's from. And here she is doing 60s, pop music. And she's doing what she can with it. But it's like you asked her to do this. And it's like the dentist, she comes up with a new thing. And it doesn't, and it just feels so painfully awkward. It's like watching someone who's out of their generation do something that they're just not used to. And it's like, no, please, no. Stop.
I agree with that. However, there is one thing about that whole entire bit of the movie. And I thought, it's another one of those things, like, I would have probably gone with it, because Goldie Hawn's character and Walter Matthau's character respectfully treat, Rick Lentz's character and Ingrid Bergman's character like absolute garbage. They really do throughout the whole entire movie.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, when I was sitting there watching that part, I was like, it would be a very good twist if, like, basically Ingrid's character and Rick's character decided to actually run off into the sunset with each other. Yes, it's again another age gap thing, but it's again, like, I was like, this is really the first guy in the movie that treats her with some kind of humanity and not just like someone that's, a usable item and everything. And I thought it'd be great. It'd be a great thing because, like, Goldie Hawn's character, she kind of does that same thing with Rick Lentz's character in her own way, even though she cares, like, it's clear that she cares more about him throughout the movie. But it's like, they're just used as, like, to make both Goldie Hawn's character and Walter Matthau's character jealous. And that's another issue with the movie is, like, the relationship building between Walter and Ingrid is based off of jealousy.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have anything else. You're supposed to rely on what they say to you about, how she is as the nurse at his dentist practice and everything, where she's basically like his work wife, the mother hen of the place, all of those things. And so, like, that's really all you're going off of. It's like, okay, they do have a close relationship because of this, but nothing ever said, she has feelings for him, and nothing really said he had feelings for her until they start doing these things, and all of a sudden they have jealousy. And that's all they have is jealousy.
It makes it completely, the message it sends is like, this is a completely unhealthy relationship, so go for it, basically.
This movie is actually not unwell received by, people out there. It's got one of those, like, middle of the road feelings towards it. It's been remade in Korea a lot, apparently.
Really? Wow.
But yeah, I think it was a Korean movie.
Weird hill to die on. Oh.
Yeah. But there's also a remade version of Sorts. I've never seen it personally, but there's a remade version of Sorts starring Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. And that movie's called Just Go With It.
It's a vaguely familiar title in my brain.
And now here's the thing. I'm not saying that movie's good. Most Adam Sandler comedies, I like them. I want to make that clear. But most of them I know are, like, not super well received. But they're fun movies. This movie would have done a better job of being a more zany, more slapstick and everything. I probably would enjoy the Adam Sandler version of this movie just because I know he's going to give us those kind of comedic bits that make a movie, that prop a movie up a little bit more. And that would be the movie that I would probably, if I'm going to watch this movie again, I'm going to watch that movie. For me, this is a very weird film because there's a lot that I like about it, but at the same time, there's a lot that I really don't like about it. And what I really don't like is the messaging of, like, how relationships should be or can be. Mm-hmm. I don't like the way the characters are written. Like, I don't like how the women are treated in this movie. They're not treated like people, in my opinion. They're treated like prizes to be won.
Yeah.
Even when you have a smart character, like Ingrid's character.
Yeah.
They are still treated like they don't have any intelligence. And I'm not a fan of that, especially when you have an on-screen legend like Ingrid Bergman in your midst.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that Goldie Hawn should have been treated that way as her character either, but it's just the way their characters are treated. They're treated very ditzy. They're treated very dumb. My weird verdict is this. I'm calling it Nuke the Fire, which is kill it with fire, nuke the fridge. I think there's a lot to laugh about in this movie. I think there's a lot that you can laugh at with this movie, and I think there's a lot of this movie that you can laugh at because of its, its sheer stupidity. And then also, I still stand on this hill, and I don't know if I'll ever die on this hill. Ingrid Bergman always gets a fortune and glory for me. So if you're going to sit down and watch this movie, I could recommend her. That's who I would recommend. I'd recommend watching her. And I'm not saying the performances aren't bad. You will get some chuckles out of just about every single character.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the way the story is written, the way it goes, and how they treat the characters from the writing standpoint, I don't think this is worth your time unless you're willing to make fun of the movie as you're watching the movie.
This for me is a pure just, kill it with fire. There's nothing here I couldn't get somewhere better elsewhere. There are other romantic comedies that don't drop the ball like this, that do a better job of, holding the script together. That kind of sense of fun and playfulness, and still being able to get their protagonist to the end zone, and catch the football in the end zone, kind of a thing, to score the touchdown. And to fail in a particular way, though, that actually undermines where you're being led to go. That's another thing. It's like it's particularly objectionable because they're luring you into the movie with the idea that there's going to be this particular lesson that the character's going to learn. And then they completely invert everything. Then they trash the women while making the man just can leave him alone. It's like he didn't need to change. They did, which is completely backwards. And it's like, okay, now you've done it. You put your foot in it. I can't just say this is like you just dropped the ball lightly. This is kill it with fire. So, yeah, in any case, I think we've squeezed all that we can get out of this. At this time, we'd like to remind our listeners out there that if you're having a good time with Ryan and me on dusting off these old movies in search of celluloid treasure, please do like, subscribe, comment, and of course, follow us on your podcast purveyor of choice. Tell us what you think we got wrong. We're not perfect. And clue us in on a few titles you'd like us to see cover in future episodes, as long as they're available for free on Tubi or some other free streaming platform, because this adventure comes with no strings attached. And now on the subject of future episodes, I am looking forward to sharing this one with you, Ryan. What should people tune into and get ready for next week's episode so we can all be on the same page?
A movie that has spawned multiple incarnations or multiple sequels, started out, I think, actually as its own cartoon show, but has been something that people have loved.
This is the original, though. This is the start of it all,
Yeah, it's the start of it all. I even managed to, my wife, she does a lot of things where it's Labor Day weekend right now, but she loves this movie, and she sat down with it. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure I could, I might have to just go into it saying Fortune and Glory.
Did she? Has she seen? She hadn't seen it either.
Yeah, she loves this movie.
Oh, she had seen it before. Okay.
Yeah, she's seen the Pink Panther before. It's like a movie that like she grew up with. A bit.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe just on her behalf, I got to say Fortune and Glory already going into it. But anyways, this movie stars Peter Sellers, David Niven.
Yeah, David Niven.
Robert Wagner, I'm not
one
sure
of
how
those,
to say that.
Prince-like names. They just went by one name.
Capucine.
It's a cappuccino.
Brenda de Bunzi, Claudia Cardinal. This movie is directed by Blake Edwards, and this is what Tubi says. The bumbling inspector Jacques Clouseau tries to catch an infamous jewel thief, the Phantom, before he can steal a priceless diamond from a princess. I think it'll be a fun time to talk about. I'm going to look into more of the franchise itself. Yeah. But, I'm like, this is Pink Panther. Go watch it with us. It's on Tubi for free.
For free. Yes. So get it while it's free. Because you know what? I just looked up today, and the one we're reviewing today has actually been taken off of Tubi, sadly.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the things I was watching. I sat down last night, and I debated. It's Labor Day weekend. I was like, I could watch this in the morning, a Monday morning. But I was like, nah, I'm going to go ahead and watch it. And then I saw expires today from last night, and I was like, oh, that wouldn't have been good.
Which means, folks, I'm going to try and still give you a free link. I was able to find it on Internet Archive, so I'm going to try and share that link as well. So one of the two links will eventually work. We like to go through Tubi when we can, but if I can find it on Internet Archive, that's that's our backup. That's our show for the week. Take care, all you guys out there, and Ryan, I'll see you next week, and folks out there, we'll see you next week. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I think the whole thing is shocking.